Hello, welcome back. In this video, we are going to demonstrate some data analysis challenge, and the video is shared by Sandeep. So we will be using his video to demonstrate some use cases using SQL. So let's see how this is working.
Hey, hi everyone, and welcome to another video from Turn to Data. So we are starting a series of SQL questions that we'll try to solve on this channel. And without wasting any time, I think we should just dive into it. So if you have watched my previous videos, you know that I have done a lot of videos on Excel. But today we are starting a new series. Although we will still cover Excel videos, I wanted to jump into SQL videos now so that we can do both of them parallelly. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to solve a few questions from Danny's 8-week SQL challenge. So you can come to this website, that is 8weeksqlchallenge.com, and you will find that there are multiple case studies available, right? So this is the first case study, Danny's Diner. All right, we have case study 2, Pizza Runner, up to a lot of other case studies. That is, I think, case study 8. Yeah, there are 8 case studies. So we'll try to solve all of this. Let me just click on the first one. So once you're here, you will find that, there is a brief description of what this case study is all about, a problem statement, all right? And then you will find the ER diagram, entity relationship diagram, on how the tables are arranged and how they are connected to each other. And then some example data sets will be there at the bottom so that you get a fair understanding of what type of questions you have to solve. All right. So I'll just scroll down. So there are 3 tables here, as you can see. One is sales, then menu and members. And then if you come down a little, you will find the schema here. So what I would suggest is whichever SQL platform you're using to write the queries, you can open that up, copy these create table and insert statements, and then get started with the queries.
So you could copy this code into our SQL server and you could create the schema. So you could create the schema, and based on this data, we could proceed.
If you don't use anything on your system right now, you can actually click here, that is edit on dbfiddle. So once you click here, you will see a new window opening up, and you can actually write your queries here on the right side. All right. So that's basically it. Let me just close this and go back. So this is your schema, and if you scroll down, these are your case study questions. All right. So there are some bonus questions at the
So
end as
there
well.
are 10 questions, and in this video we will try to solve first 2 questions. So let's proceed.
So what I'll do is in this particular video, I'll keep it short. I'll try to cover the first 2 questions, and then we'll move on with other questions in our upcoming videos. All right. So just showing you the table design. So these are the 3 tables, and you can see each of the table has some of the other ID. All right. And these are connected with each other through either through the customer ID or the product ID. Okay. So let me just go back to our Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So I'll use SQL Server to write the queries. You can write it in your own, whichever SQL version you are comfortable with. There are mild changes here or there whenever you write the query. So I would suggest you Google them up for any changes. If you're using SQL Server, you can follow my video to write the same query. So what I have done is from the same table, that is from the same website, I have copied the schema, that is, create table, insert into statements for all these 3 tables. And I've just lodged them here on my, studio. And you can see I have insert statements for all 3 tables, create statements as well. And all 3 tables are already created by me. So I would suggest you do that first, and then we'll get to the questions. So these are all the, the 10 questions. And then we have 2 bonus questions at the end. So let's get started with the first 2 questions. Before that, I would like to show you how the tables look like. So let me just show you the first table. Click on execute. All right.
So first, let's try to create the tables. So let's use the code which is shared in this video and try to create the schema and that three table. Then we will proceed.
So this is the very first table. So you have a customer ID, then you have an order date, then you have a product ID. Okay, so these three columns are the only information that you have under the sales table. Okay, moving on to the next table, that is menu. So in menu, it's a very short table. You have the product ID, you have the product name and the price. All right. And in members, you have the customer ID. So there are two customers and their join dates. That is, when did they join the membership? So when did they become a member? All right. That's what it means. So fairly simple. The table design is fairly simple. Let's jump to the questions now. So I'll start solving the first question for you. Okay, put in a few spaces here. All right. All right. Let's start with the first question.
So we have very simple tables and let's go to the questions and let's see what we need to solve.
So I just want to, give you the basic understanding of how you go about fetching any query in this case, right? Let me just hide the results pane. Okay. So the first query states, what is the total amount each customer spent at the restaurant? Okay. So before we go about solving this query, just make sure that you understand the question properly. So this particular query is asking you for two things. Okay. Focus on the question, always focus on the question. The first thing is the total amount. That is, how much was the amount spent, and it says each customer. So in the end, we ideally want to know how much did A spend. So I can say A spent, let's say $100, and how much did B spend, let's say $23, and how much did C spend, let's say $66. So my result should be something like this. That is, I should have the customer ID on the left and I should have the total amount spent by each customer on the right. Okay. So keeping that in mind, let's write our query. All right. So we know that the customer names are available in the sales table. So just to have it clear in my head, I will say from one is the sales table that we want. And since we want information from the price table also, because if you remember, price is only available in the second table, that is menu. In your first table, you don't have the price, right? In the first table, you only have customer ID, date, and product ID. So we will have to join these two tables somehow and then get to the result. Let me just scroll down a bit. Okay, so one is the sales table.
So if we don't have all the column in a single table and if the data are scattered across multiple tables, we need to use joins. So he's going to demonstrate how to use joins. So let's see.
And I will have to join it with.
So let's see how this is working.
Okay, now you can use, I'm using inner join here. So instead of inner join, you can just type in join. If you want, you can also type inner join. It does the same thing. Just for clarity and readability purposes, people tend to use inner join a lot, but it's up to you how you want to use it, as long as you are writing the correct query. All right. So let's say inner join here. All right. Now, from these two tables, what do we want? Obviously, we will start with the select statement. So first one we want is the customer ID.
So if you want to retrieve data from two tables, we need to use join. So the syntax will be from first table, then what kind of joins are we going to use, then second table, then on which columns are we going to join, or on based on which columns are we going to join, that we need to specify.
All right. So select customer ID. What else did we want? We wanted the total amount spent, that is total price. All right. One more thing you have to remember is when you're joining the tables, make sure there is a common key. that connects both the tables. So in this case, product ID is available in the menu table as well. So I'll use product ID to join this table. Okay. So where I say on, so I can give them an alias. Let's say for sales, I'm giving S as an alias, and for menu, I'm giving M as an alias. So I say S dot product ID equals M dot product ID. Okay. So that's how we have connected these two tables now. Now we have selected customer ID. If you want, you can also say S dot customer ID since you're using the customer ID from the sales table. But since there is no other customer ID column, you can also avoid it. But just for readability and good quality code purposes, you can use S dot customer ID here.
So if you are joining multiple tables and if you have different column names in different tables, you don't need to use alias of table name in your select statement or while referring any columns. But if you want to make more readable, you could use table alias.
Okay, doesn't matter if you don't use it, just for readability purposes. The next thing that we want is the total amount. So to total the amount, you will obviously have to use the aggregate function, which is the sum function. Okay, so I'll use the sum function. And what are we aggregating? The total amount. So amount here in the table, the column name is price. All right. So we'll take the sum of price, and from sales table, we'll join menu table. And this is our condition for joining these two tables. And one thing you have to always notice, whenever you're using an aggregate function in your select statement, you will have to use a group by statement as well. And group by whatever is the remaining field here. Okay. So I will use group by and I'll say S dot customer ID. All right. Now let me see if this code runs properly. So you select the entire query, click on execute, and there you go. So you have your customers on the left and you can see the amount spent by each customer in total. If you want to double check this, what you can also do is you can actually, just check for one customer. I would say check for A. You can total up the price that he has spent on each order and it will come to 76. So that's how you do it. One thing you have to notice here is if you see, this says no column name. The first one says customer ID, but the second one says no column name because we are doing an aggregate, but we are not providing a column name for this. So to change that, what you can do is you can use the alias, you can use as, and you can name it as, let's say, total amount.
So in order to add column names to any columns, you could use as keyword, or you could even specify the column name directly. So let's see how this is done.
Or let's say total amount spent. That's how you want to name it. Okay, I'll run the query again. And now your column name is changed to total amount spent. All right, so this was the first question. Let's move on to the next one. We'll solve one more question and we'll be done for this video. I'll solve the next ones in the upcoming video. So the next question is, sorry, my bad. Let me just scroll down. Okay. The next question is, how many days has each customer visited the restaurant? All right. So how many days? Let's see the first table for that matter. The first table gives you the customer ID and the order date. And what we are interested to know is how many days. So days is the first thing that we want to find out, and each customer. So against every customer, how many days has he or she visited the restaurant, right? So similarly, in this case, we don't need two tables. We just need one table because everything is there in the same table. I'll say select. What do I want to select? I'll say customer ID. Obviously, I'll want the customer ID. What is the next thing that we want? The next thing that we want is we want the count of dates, right? So if let's say for A, if I count the number of order date, that is if I count order dates, it will give me the number of days basically, right? Just be with me here. So let's say
So we need the count of days. So we have a function called count, And inside count, you could either use star or you could specify the date. Then you could extract the number of days each customer visited. So let's see how we could solve this.
Count order date here. Okay, and we can let's say name it to days. Let's name it as, you know, number of days. Okay. Now from table is sales, and since we are using a aggregate function that is count, we will have to do a group by. So you group by customer ID. Okay. So let us see if this works or not. Okay. I'm going to run this. It says 663. Let's verify it for A. All right. Let's see if it works for A or not. So I'm just going to do select star. All right. So we are going to verify this query. Okay. But because we want to make sure that it works. So we want to find out how many days has each customer visited the restaurant. Now, if you see, let's take the first two things. So if you see, the dates are the same. That is 1st January 2021. So that means you cannot count these as two separate days, right? It is basically one day. So if we count that way, let's say this is 1 day, 2 days, 3 day, 4th day, and the last date is again the same because these two dates are the same, right?
So the scenario is same customer might visit the store multiple times in a day, and sometimes they don't visit. So if the customer visit twice in a day, you don't need to count it twice. We just need to count it one. And if the customer didn't visit, that will be counted as 0. So in order to count the distinct date, we use distinct keyword inside our count function.
So we will count this as 1. So basically 1, 2, 3, and 4. So A should ideally have only 4 days, but we are getting how many? 6 as our result. So the query is not correct. What could be different? So what we need to do is we don't need to count the order date. We actually need to count the distinct order dates. Okay. So you need to count distinct order dates as number of days. That way any duplicates will be clubbed together and counted as 1. Let's see if this works. Perfect. So now for A you have 4 days, for B 6 days, and so on. So we can verify for B and C also. So if you want, let's just quickly validate that. For B it says 6 days. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. For C it says 2. So we have one date here, same date, and the second date. All right.
So in this video, we just demonstrated how we could use some of the functions inside group by. We demonstrated how we could use sum function. Also we discussed how we could use count, and we discussed how we could use count with the distinct as well. So in order to extract the distinct value from a date, you could use distinct function or distinct keyword inside your count function. So I believe you like this video. So if you like, please subscribe, and I will share similar kind of videos. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.